You're here because you want the smart version, fast. You want to cut right to the core, really understand things.
Yeah, get straight to the point.
So let's do that. Today, we're giving you a direct route, a shortcut really, to grasping something pretty fundamental in software, usability testing.
Right. We're basically talking about making sure the tech we all rely on, isn't just powerful under the hood, but actually, well, easy to use.
Easy and not frustrating.
Exactly. Think about all the apps, the websites you use every day. It's countless interactions. Usability testing is sort of the secret sauce, trying to make those smooth, intuitive.
And like you said, not infuriating.
Precisely.
Okay. So we've been digging into excerpts from the fundamentals of usability testing. And our mission today is pretty straightforward. We want to figure out why this matters so much, what it actually looks like, and how it can stop software from, well, making you want to throw your computer out the window.
We've all been there, haven't we? Just staring at a screen, completely lost. What do I click next? Usability testing is all about stopping that moment from happening in the final product.
Okay, let's unpack this then. What is usability testing like in a nutshell?
Well, in essence, usability testing, sometimes called UX testing. It's really a method.
A method for
measuring, just how user-friendly a piece of software actually is. The main idea is you observe a small group of users.
people who'd actually use it, right? The target audience.
Exactly. You watch them try to use the application, and the ultimate goal, it's to shine a light on those usability flaws, the things that trip people up.
So it's like getting a real sneak peek, seeing how people actually interact with what's been built, not just guessing.
Precisely. And the focus really boils down to maybe 3 key things.
Okay.
How intuitive is it? How much flexibility and control does it give the user? And fundamentally, does it actually help them do what they want it to do?
Right. Does it meet its objectives? And when's the best time to be doing this? I mean, it feels like something you'd tack on at the end, maybe, just before release.
Yeah, that's a common thought. But interestingly, the source material really pushes for doing it much earlier, ideally during the initial design phase.
Oh, right at the start of the SDLC. The software development lifecycle.
Exactly. Getting that user feedback early gives you the best chance to shape the software around what people actually need and expect. Think of it like the 1.10 rule.
1.10.10. What's that?
It's like finding a bug in design costs, say, $1 to fix. If you find it later in development, maybe $10. But if it gets out to users after launch, it could cost $100 to fix, considering support, patches, reputation.
Wow, okay. That makes total sense. Fixing things early doors is just way more efficient. Less costly, too.
Definitely.
So, okay, it's important to do it early, but why is it so crucial overall? Why should software creators really prioritize this?
That really is the core question, isn't it? I mean, we all like things that look good, right? A nice design often gives us that feeling, oh, this probably works well.
Yeah, that first impression counts.
But looks alone aren't enough. The source points out some really common pitfalls, things that can make even good-looking software just fail badly when people try to use it.
Like what? Give us some examples. Those usability nightmares we've maybe all run into.
Well, think about it. Have you ever been on a website and just had no idea where to click next?
All the time.
Or gotten completely lost trying to navigate the site? Maybe icons that make absolutely no sense.
Or jargon you don't understand.
Yes, or error messages that are more confusing than helpful. The source also mentions things like inconsistent error messages or even not giving users enough time to complete a task before the session time's out.
Oh man, those generic something went wrong errors, they drive me crazy. No clue what went wrong.
Exactly. And usability testing is specifically designed to catch those kinds of problems early on, before they frustrate real users and maybe even cause the whole product to flop.
So it's really about preventing those headaches for the user. Got it. But what actually makes a system usable? What are the key things, the parameters?
The source breaks usability down into some pretty clear, tangible bits. First up is effectiveness.
Effectiveness. Yeah.
And this isn't just, does it work technically? It's more like, how easily can people learn it? Is it actually useful? Does it provide real value to the target audience? And even, are the visuals, the content, colors, icons, are they aesthetically pleasing? Do they help? So effectiveness is the, what does it help the user get their goal done?
Okay, so functionality and that first impression, the visuals, make sense. What's next?
Then there's efficiency. This is all about minimizing effort.
Less work for the user.
Right, like needing minimal clicks or navigation to get where you want to go, not having to scroll endlessly, keeping the look and feel consistent across the whole application. Oh, and the source specifically mentions a good search function being really important here.
Yeah, definitely. Nobody wants to click through 5 pages to find one thing. Search is key.
Totally. Next up is accuracy. This one's pretty straightforward. Just making sure there's no outdated info, no incorrect details like wrong phone numbers, and absolutely no broken links.
Seems basic, but yeah, you still see that stuff surprisingly often. Broken links are the worst.
They really are. And finally, there's user-friendliness.
User-friendliness. Right.
This really boils down to having controls that are obvious, self-explanatory. You shouldn't need a manual just to figure out the basics. And also, having help readily available if users do get stuck. So user-friendliness is more about the experience of interacting with it.
Okay, so a usable system is effective, efficient, accurate, and user-friendly. Makes sense. Now, how do you actually do it? What's the process look like?
Well, the source outlines a pretty structured 5-phase process. It kicks off with planning.
Planning, right. Step 1.
This is where you define your goals for the testing. What exactly are you trying to find out? It's not just about watching people randomly click around.
No, you need focus.
Exactly. You identify the critical features you want to test. You design specific tasks for your testers that use those features. You also decide on the method, how many testers you need, their demographics, and how you'll report the results.
So pretty methodical, not just casual observation.
Definitely not. Phase 2 is recruiting, finding the actual testers.
Getting the right people in the room, so to speak.
Right. You need people who genuinely represent your target users, their background, maybe their job, their tech savviness, whatever is relevant. And the source notes this can sometimes take a bit of effort, finding the right match.
I bet. You need feedback that's actually relevant.
Then comes phase 3, the usability testing itself, actually running the tests with the people you recruited.
The main event.
Which leads straight into phase 4, data analysis. And this is super important. Because you have to really dig into the information you gathered, the observations, maybe recordings, feedback. You need to understand why people struggle, not just where, and then turn that into actionable recommendations, things the team can actually use to improve the software.
So it's about finding the root causes and suggesting fixes.
Precisely. And the last phase, phase 5, is reporting. Getting those findings out to everyone who needs to know.
Like the designers, developers?
Designers, developers, maybe the client, the CEO, everyone involved. Clear communication here is key to make sure those improvements actually happen.
Okay, that process makes a lot of sense. Planning, recruiting, testing, analyzing, reporting. Now, you mentioned deciding on a method in the planning phase. What are the main ways this testing is actually done?
The source highlights 2 main techniques. There's laboratory usability testing and remote usability testing.
Lab testing. Sounds kind of formal, maybe a bit sterile.
It can be. Basically, you set up a controlled environment, a lab. Testers come in, they sit down, they do the tasks. And observers are right there, maybe in the same room, maybe behind a one-way mirror, or watching a live feed.
So they're watching in real time.
Yep. Silently observing, taking detailed notes on everything the tester does, where they hesitate, what they say. The key is everyone's kind of co-located, observer and tester.
Gotcha. Direct in-person observation. What about remote testing then? Sounds more flexible.
It definitely is. With remote usability testing, the observers and the testers are in different places.
Okay.
Testers access the software remotely, usually from their own home or office, using their own computer. They do the assigned tasks, and often their screen, their voice, even their facial expressions can be recorded using special software.
Oh, interesting. So you can capture a lot of data that way, too.
Yeah, the source even mentions a tool like silverbackcap.com as an example. Observers then review these recordings later. It allows you to test with people anywhere in the world, really.
That definitely seems useful, especially now. So flexibility is a big plus there. Now, a really practical question, I'm sure people listening are wondering this. How many users do you actually need? Do you need hundreds?
That's a great question and often a barrier for people thinking about doing this. The source actually references some well-known research from the early 90s, suggesting that you can actually uncover around 80% of the major usability problems with just 5 users.
Only 5? Seriously, that seems really low.
It does sound counterintuitive, doesn't it? But the idea is that you start seeing the same problems crop up again and again pretty quickly, even with a small group. the patterns emerge fast.
So you hit diminishing returns after a certain point.
Exactly. Of course, the ideal number might depend on how complex your software is, what your specific goals are. Testing with more people might find more minor issues.
But it costs more, takes more time.
Right. More costs, more planning, more data to analyze. It's a trade-off.
So what's a good rule of thumb then for someone just starting out maybe?
The source suggests, look, if you've got a limited budget, maybe you're doing it yourself. Starting with 5 users is a really solid, effective approach. You'll catch the big stuff.
Okay.
If you have a bigger budget, more complex needs, then yeah, maybe talk to usability pros to figure out the optimal number for your situation.
That's really helpful. Just knowing that 5 can get you pretty far makes it seem much more doable. Okay, so beyond the process itself, what else should people keep in mind? Are there key things that make usability testing really successful?
Yeah, the source has some great pointers, kind of like a checklist for success. First, and we touched on this, start early.
Don't wait until the end.
Absolutely. Integrate it into the design and development process from the beginning. Second, and this is really smart, test your competitors' products.
Oh, interesting. Before you even build yours.
Yeah, ideally. See what they do well, see where they stumble. It helps you set usability benchmarks for your own market and learn from their mistakes or successes before you've written a line of code. It gives you valuable context.
That's a great tip. Learn from the landscape first. What else?
Carefully select your testers. Really think about who your end users are. Are they tech experts, total beginners, a mix? Make sure your testers match that profile.
Get the right representation.
Exactly. Also, try to simulate real-world conditions. This is a big one.
What do you mean?
Well, for instance, if you know many of your users will have slow internet, don't just test on your super fast office network. Try to simulate slower speeds. Or if they'll use older devices, test on those too.
Ah, right, because lab conditions aren't always real-world conditions.
Precisely. I remember a project where everything seemed fine in the lab, fast connection, then it launched, and users in rural areas had terrible loading times. We should have simulated slower connections. It would have caught a huge issue.
That's a fantastic example. Really drives home why that simulation matters. Any other key points?
Yeah. Focus the testing tasks on the critical and frequently used parts of the software. You want to make sure the core journeys work well.
Get the most important stuff right first.
Right. And if you can, assign one observer per tester. It just helps ensure you capture all the nuances, the detail.
More accurate data collection.
Yep. And finally, a really important cultural point. Frame the findings as opportunities for improvement, not as failures or criticisms of the designers or developers.
Yeah, that's crucial for teamwork, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's about everyone working together to make the product better for the user, not pointing fingers.
That makes perfect sense. Keep it constructive. Okay, so bringing this all together, we've talked about what it is, why it's important, how it's done, what are the big picture upsides and downsides, the pros and cons of investing in usability testing.
Sure. Like any process, there's a balance. On the definite plus side, like we've hammered home, it helps you find and fix problems before launch. That saves time, money, maybe even your reputation.
Huge benefit.
It directly leads to happier users, better satisfaction. It makes the system more effective and efficient for them. And you get real feedback from actual users, not just internal guesses or opinions.
Those are all really compelling reasons to do it. What about the downsides? Is there a catch?
Well, the main things people usually point to are cost and the fact that it can be resource intensive.
Yep.
Setting up a proper lab, if you go that route, recruiting testers, maybe compensating them, that all costs money. And analyzing the data takes time and effort from skilled people.
So it's definitely an investment, time and money required.
It is an investment, yes. However, the strong consensus, and what the source also really concludes, is that these costs are almost always outweighed by the benefits.
How so?
Higher customer satisfaction, people sticking with your product longer, better reviews, word of mouth. It all contributes to business success. So in the long run, that investment usually pays off handsomely. It's generally seen as highly recommended.
Right. The upfront cost prevents much larger costs or lost opportunities later.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's try and summarize this whole deep dive then. Usability testing. Fundamentally, it's about watching real people, your actual target users, try to use your software to see if it, well, makes sense to them, if it's easy. It's a proactive thing, catching those annoying glitches, the confusing bits early in development, and the end result is just better software, more user-friendly products,
Yeah.
and ultimately happier users.
Yeah, and I think maybe one of the big aha moments from digging into this is really seeing how much impact those seemingly small design choices can have. An unclear icon, a weird workflow, it can really derail the whole experience.
Totally.
And also that idea that you don't need like hundreds of testers, that getting significant insights from just 5 users, that makes it feel much more achievable, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Less intimidating. So here's something for you listening to think about after this. Reflect on your own experience. Is there a specific app, a website, maybe something you use every day that just drives you nuts from a usability perspective?
We all have one, right?
Definitely. Think about that confusing navigation, those illogical buttons. And now consider, how could a bit of usability testing, maybe even with just a few users early on, have potentially fixed that? How could it have prevented your frustration?
It really gives you a new way to look at the technology you interact with, doesn't it?
It's a powerful lens. Understanding usability testing helps you evaluate technology better and maybe more importantly, think more critically about how we should be creating it in the future.
Always keeping that end user, that human experience, right at the center of it all.